Zac, I am so excited to tell you that I just got us 2 tickets to go Wales watching.
Oh my God, Louis, you didn't have to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Are we going to SeaWorld?
Oh no, absolutely not. I don't agree with their practice. No, we're going to a field just outside Bridgend to watch some sheep.
I just want to make viewers aware that in that opening bit, I was, of course, acting. I would not be expressing such excitement to go see whales at SeaWorld, as Louis mentioned. I don't agree with their practices either, so disclaimer, I'm just such a good actor. If you believe that I was excited about it, please don't write in and complain. It was all...
I can attest, I've seen Zac live, he's very good. Hello and welcome to Davis on Davis, the podcast all about the celebrated screenwriter Russell T Davies and the shows he's made since 1999, which I tried to say in French last night, and the problem is, in French, you would have to say it like 1999, so I just said 2000 moins 1, which means 2000 minus 1.
Woo!
But we're not in 2000 minus 1 today, we're in 2000 plus 4. A monumental year, the year when 9/11's 3rd anniversary happened.
And YouTube's -1 birthday.
Yes. YouTube was conceived.
We hope. I don't know why I said we hope. I was going to say, I don't want to think about YouTube's conception, but I reckon it's quite an interesting story, and I'm sure there's probably a documentary out there about it.
Yeah, we really went from the best opening bit to the worst preamble.
Yeah.
I'm Louis Davis, and this is Zac Copeland Green.
Hello.
And today, we're watching episode 4 of Mine All Mine, the TV show all about Swansea and what happens when Griff Rhys-Jones owns it.
And he owns it, yeah. I was going to say, how are you, Louis?
I'm doing well, thanks, Zac. I'm doing good. Yeah. I've just been. I feel like I did do something since we last met, but I forgot what it was. How have you been, Zac?
Yeah, I listened to "Crazy" by Britney Spears this morning. Crazy. I think actually the song's called "You Drive Me Crazy," but that was pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
actually, I have been listening to a lot of music recently. I'm getting more back into music mashups, which is something I used to actually be really, really big into, and there was a period in time where I could only ever listen to music mashups because I was a bit worried about like time optimization, and I was like, I can't listen to one song at once. I have to be listening to at least 2 songs at any one time to cram them all in. And I had a really good one, which was Charlie XCX Club Classics mashed up with JPEG Mafia, Sin Mideo, because those both have such good sort of beats behind them, but also good chopped up synths and all that. It went together really well. So check that out if you want to just look it up on YouTube.
Right. That's quite an interesting thought process behind music mashups.
Actually, here's one you'll like quickly. I highly recommend you Zac listen to Aphex Swift, which is Aphex Twin Taylor Swift. It's like a little EP of remixes, and it's really good.
I'm writing that down. I was going to say there's this new trend that I've seen online, or it's like this new song that simultaneously in one ear it's in English and in the other ear it's in French, and by allowing you to listen to 2 languages at once, it's supposedly the latest way of learning languages. I don't know if it works.
I think that's good. Also, I think you could do that because quite a lot of French singers did make English versions of their best songs or their most popular songs.
Yeah, I suppose that's you can make your own that way. I just think it would scratch my ADHD brain because I discovered, whilst on the topic of, I'm not weird music, but no, I'm saying you listen to weird music, Louis. That's absolutely not what I'm saying.
I say I listen to weird music. Like that's how I brand myself.
And when I was trying to figure out how to help when I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I was trying to figure out ways to help me concentrate when I was a student and help me study, I discovered 4D audio, where essentially someone's put a playlist on Spotify of pop songs, but they've sort of re-recorded them to make it sound like the singer is running around your skull in a circle constantly throughout the song, so that it uses up most of your brain to stop you being distracted.
Wow.
It was really freak. It did feel like, I had Jessie J running up and down my skull at all times. It was weird.
That is crazy. The one thing I wonder about having English and French simultaneously with lyrics is that often when lyrics are translated, you sort of translate the vibe of each lyric, because you've got to make things rhyme, you've got to make things have the same syllables or have the same number of syllables.
See, yeah, that's partly why I'm so skeptical. I mean, I'm still skeptical about watching films in foreign languages with English subtitles. I don't know how.
I mean, how else are you going to watch foreign films apart from dubbing?
No, I mean, as in a way of people be like, oh, if you want to learn Spanish, watch Spanish TV with English subtitles. And where that's not a practical way to learn Spanish.
Oh no, certainly not.
No. Although some people think it helps. I don't know.
One way I've been practicing my French recently is I was watching a French cartoon without subtitles called Mr. Flap. Have you heard of this, Zac?
No, I'm just laughing because I just think.
Okay, you think the name's funny? It's about a guy whose face is on his backside.
Oh,
so il a un tête de cul or tête de cul. Because if I say cul, that means neck, but cul means butt. Because the French language is so annoying. And he basically just like walks backwards, dragging his body along because his face is down there.
Okay, I've just Googled him.
Yeah.
Why does he look? Oh my god.
Well, that's because the eye is his.
Yeah. I can see that, and his like mustache. Yeah, wow. But then also he has got a head, but it looks dead.
Yeah, so his head is dead, and there is one episode where you see what his head is used for, and it's not pretty. But basically, I brought this up at the dinner table when discussing sort of what French media I'd been consuming, and this sort of fed into a point that was we were kind of coming to in our discussion, which basically British humour is quite like observational, and French humour is quite like is a bit more like absurd, a bit more kind of ridicule. If you think mimes, it's all mimes. This is just a type of mime.
Wow. I'm just diving deeper into, and there's stuff on here that would, gosh, this would get us demonetized. I thought you were describing a cute kiddie cartoon. This is not.
No. It's an adult cartoon. It's basically the French Smiling Friends,
Yeah, and here someone. Oh god, boy, I'm not going to repeat what I'm saying right now. Crikey, Bob.
Listen, as someone who has seen the show, please don't. Should we get into the episode?
Yes.
Mimes is not a great thing to do on podcasts because they're generally silent. So we should get off the topic.
If we need to fill the time, we will not be playing charades. So, Mine or Mine, episode 4.
Mine or Mine. We've been in a very like natural jump starting point, which is Rico's wake. He died last episode, so now they've put him in the ground or the air if he was cremated.
We find him. We don't find him. No, he's gone. We find everyone at the funeral, and interestingly, the first shot you see of the episode are black funeral cones outside the house, reserving spaces for the taxi from everyone coming back from the funeral to go to the wake at the Vivaldi house. And I don't know if I'm being stupid, but I have never seen a black, like a traffic cone that says funeral on it. Is that a thing? I feel like you would know, Louis. Are these things that I
don't know. I've never seen that, However, there is something that does sort of scream, this is Wales, that does sort of, you might recognise more. And it's basically that everyone is just like singing, everyone's just singing a song together. This is basically the whole of Wales' kind of national mythology, is just liking to sing and singing together when you're happy and singing together when you're sad. And I've never witnessed it in person, but apparently we're very big on that.
It's like in Star Trek. Sorry, I feel so terrible. It's like in Star Trek, the Klingons scream at funerals.
That's a bit. Have you seen Midsummer?
No, I haven't.
Okay, there's a bit where a group of people are all like crying and wailing together and having this sort of shared sadness and grief, and it all feels a bit cathartic, but also it's part of the whole cult thing. And I'm just imagining Klingon Midsummer is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they're just being non-stop sort of screaming. Anyway, to talk about Welsh people who definitely aren't cultists.
Yes.
No, I think it's a nice because I think wakes are conceptually weird things and funerals as well, it's a celebration of life, but also everyone's really down. So I think making people sing is an activity that does bring joy into a setting. So I think it's a nice moment.
I will say, with the question of is the entirety of Wales a cult, I think the largest religious denomination in Wales is nonconformism. And if you're making that a cult, then you've got to be working overtime. It's like, yes, the thing that brings us all together, makes us all the same, is that we're all not being the same. Something else unusual at the wake, people are thanking Max. Because, what, do you thank the bereaved? Is that what's going on? But it turns out, through a bit of exposition, that his stunt, his reclaiming of the town, has actually raised house prices because, I guess, people want to get in early. It feels like the start of a bubble. Just something new and unusual has happened. People are trying to buy in.
People want it's almost as a tourist attraction, and now people want to buy in and be a part of something special.
And so everyone's thanking Max because their house price has gone up, I should say. That's the specific reason.
That's the specific, yeah. When Louis sent me a copy of this episode to watch before, he said to me, watch out, there's loads of Welshisms in this episode. And I was like, oh, okay, so I've got to now be looking out for all these Welsh moments. And when everyone was thanking, I did think to myself, gosh, is this a Welsh custom? And then Danny, our resident Englishman, says, oh, thanking the bereaved, is that a Welsh custom? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's me on the screen. And no, it's pointed out that it's not. It's for this specific reason Louis just explained.
But just after this, we do get, the first Welshism was everyone singing. The second one, basically when Val's mum decides that, like, here's everyone singing, is like, no, we need to sing Max a better song. And so she sings Big Spender by none other than Shirley Bassey.
I'm not gonna contend this, but Shirley Bassey only covered Big Spender. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. Who was it originally?
It's originally from the American musical Sweet Charity, but I suppose it's well associated with Shirley Bassey. So you can have this as a Welsh moment. The Welsh can have this. Okay, fine. Yeah. It's on me for forgetting that you're a musicals guy. What can I say? But you can have it. And which is supposed to be a funny joke about money. Money. Money.
Well, exactly. And also the inappropriateness of doing this at a wake, not doing this at any other social occasion.
Speaking of inappropriate things happening at a wake, that's quite a good segue.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Gethin, who sort of volunteered at the end of last episode to be the Vivaldi family sort of their financial representative because he works at the bank, he knows what's going on. He offers Max some papers to say, if you just sign on the line, I'll be your official representative. I'll take care of absolutely everything to do with your finances during this time of transition. At the same time, one of Max's other neighbours, who we don't know his name, he's just, anonymous neighbour, asks Max, hey, can you sort out the on-street parking and make it residents only? And Max is like, no, I've got a bigger picture plans.
He's thinking about the bigger picture.
And then Danny comes in and says, time and a place, and gets this man to go back downstairs and go and enjoy the rest of the wake.
Yeah. He also has a go at Gethin for the same reason.
There's a bit of tension between the two, as has been building up over the previous 3 episodes regarding their feelings towards Maria. So he doesn't really want to step out of line and tell Gethin where to stick it, because it's not really in his character with this dynamic. But yeah, he kind of makes a sideways comment towards Gethin, but Gethin manages to get it all signed and so leaves.
Yeah, he leaves straight away. He's like, kisses Maria goodbye. The wake is not over. He's just out of there. We also find out that Candy is changing her name to Candy Zita Vivaldi on Claire's advice, much to the chagrin of her manager, Mrs. Digby. So here's our other conflict tension between two characters is Claire and Miss Digby wanting more control over Candy, a bit of a pop star. And of course, why is she called Candy Zita Vivaldi?
Are you asking me or the audience?
I'm asking you, Zach.
What's a reference to Catherine Zeta-Jones? Come on, I wasn't born under...
That's right.
I was about to say, wasn't born under a tree. That's not the expression.
No, I knew you'd answer it because I put it in the notes. Like,
Well, okay, now you're exposing me. But I also know Catherine Zeta-Jones.
yeah,
Okay?
of course.
Okay. Because there's a reference to her in this Doctor Who Series 3 episode, The Lazarus Experiment.
Okay.
Because she's in a marriage with a large age gap.
Right, yeah.
The reason the reason Claire wants to sort of get Candy to change her name is because she's now invested. I suppose now that Rico's passed on, she's not got a focus, and so her focus has turned back to her best friend. Now, if I'm being cynical, is she trying to profit off her best friend, or is she genuinely wanting to get her best friend to succeed? I don't know, just ideas there. But Candy was 127th in the charts after her hit single that was released in the previous episode, and so Claire is quite right to capitalise on this success. And this is her strategy for success.
I mean, I think considering her manager is definitely not her friend, Claire has a better claim to that than her.
Yeah.
Whatever we think of the manager, we should think of Claire at least a bit higher. You know, there's a good line delivery where Claire says, you know, after reaching number 127 in the charts, which is good.
I did for a second think, oh my god, is Candy the next big thing?
Well, I thought she was going to say number 1 in some obscure like newcomer chart or whatever, you know.
You're the number 1 newcoming artist on this street.
Yeah.
I still think 127 though, it's still quite, it's not like, obviously it's not big top 40.
Yeah.
But 127 is pretty impressive.
I think because she was able to get a radio play, like radio plays do really well for the charts. So
yeah.
Oh yes, I remembered. I was gonna say I recently saw the movie Kneecap in cinemas now, about a Northern Irish rap group, but the rap in the Irish language was very interesting. A plot point in that was about like trying to get a radio play and not being able to because of the content of their lyrics, you know. So yeah, so the radio is important, you know, even today.
Even today. Correct.
And I'm not just saying that because I did a lot of student radio. So now we get a lovely moment. Okay, I love this bit. I got to evangelize for it. Candy is calling Leo gay, as she does. And Maria comes in and is like, hey, can you not keep calling him gay? And she's like, well, why? And then Maria says, well, because he probably is, but he's 15 and he's never going to be okay with himself if you keep saying this. And I was like, yo, we love to see it. I generally thought it was like a really sweet moment.
Because there's been Candy calling Leo gay has just created an overwhelming moment where Val's mum and her friend, in inverted commas, are saying that, it's all the rage these days. That fella down the corner shop, he's gay, and they've got gay schools now, which I thought was amusing. So obviously this atmosphere that is being sparked by Candy calling him gay every 5 minutes, and you can see it in Leo's face. He's getting really quite overwhelmed.
Not everyone realizes that he hasn't actually come out or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then Danny goes up to Maria in the kitchen in private and goes, why do you think he's gay? And Maria makes a joke about how he gave her a Christmas card with a big naked bloke on, which was a joke. But then she has this, and I think this is one of my favourite, most beautifully written bits of the dialogue in the show, about how she can tell when Danny's watching telly and where he stares at things and he leans forward and he holds his breath and he's not even aware that he's doing it. But there are moments where his physicality sort of betray his interests. And I think that's I'm praising RTD for good observation about gay men and all sort of being young and things that you do. But I really like that moment.
Also, I have a little note here. So Russell T Davies himself, growing up, was the youngest of 3 children and the only son. So he, like Leo, had 2 older sisters.
He is. It's sort of he is a self-insert.
Yeah,
as it was in Mine or Mine in Leo. Maybe.
I don't know how much. Thing is, I don't know how much else is drawn from that, but that little detail is like, it just paints it a little.
It's nice, yeah.
Paints an idea, yeah.
It's
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
In this conversation, Danny also then tells Maria that she was wrong about the house prices, having just heard from someone else, as we just discussed, that house prices are going up because of the Vivaldi inheritance. And she, in a previous episode, reported from the estate agents that everything was going to collapse. And she said, no, yeah, you're right now. And we're getting loads of calls from all over Europe. Everyone wants to come in and buy houses here. It's all going really well. And then that's when Danny says, well, everything's going well for you. I'm probably going to leave at the end of the week because everything's going swimmingly.
It's interesting that the through line of the show is when is Danny going to leave this world and how he's beguiled by it. He doesn't want to leave. It's the lights are too beautiful. The lights of Swansea are too glorious for him to be able to return to Londanity.
Yeah,
that was a portmanteau of London and mundanity. But now we find out that basically, so Max is refusing to help Stella. Now that he owns the town, he's refusing to help her expand her business in Swansea, which is basically like arcades for kids, but like he also calls them slot machines. So I'm imagining it's those like 2p machines. I'm imagining that. Thing is, kid-friendly or kid-accessible gambling is like definitely a thing we have, but it's always quite specific forms. And I'm just imagining the penny pushers on Brighton Pier.
Yeah, they were my favorite. They're the only things I will. I will never touch one of those claw grabby things. Although I did win a Stitch from Lilo and Stitch plushie the other year from one of those. So I tell a lie, but I love those 2p machines. And I buy into what you're saying because she says, she calls them these interactive pleasure dome facilities rather than slot machine business.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you package it for kids, by calling it an interactive pleasure dome facility.
Yeah.
Although interactive pleasure also sounds like it could be something very different.
So does dome facility.
So true. But Max refuses to help his sister out by basically refusing her planning permission on the spot. And she says, oh no, you got to go through the committee. And he's like, no, there is no committee. It's my private land. I'll do what I like. Thank you very much.
Now, there's someone comes in who wasn't invited to this wake. It is Sam the Eggman.
And he comes in bearing gifts. I didn't know it was customary to bring gifts to a wake.
Well, it's sort of a peace offering to Max specifically. And he says, I'll leave you alone. I just wanted to give you this little thingy of eggs. He's just like, if I give you 6 eggs, are we cool? Are we good? That's his thinking.
And it's not like, because sort of, I suppose the concept of gift giving is there's got to be some value in what you give, and not necessarily monetary value, but sort of maybe sentimental or, thought that went into the gift. He's literally giving eggs, which is something he has in abundance, and to give away 6 probably is nothing. So you're a bit like, what a weird gift. But, dear listener, there's an ulterior motive to the Eggman's appearance.
Yes.
Because he is not alone. He's with his lady friend, his new lover, Lilith.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you've seen Has Been Hotel, keep the name Lilith in your mind.
I'm trusting you on this. I haven't seen Has Been Hotel.
I guess if you haven't seen Has Been Hotel, but you know about, I guess, the Torah, then keep it in your mind.
You need your biblical knowledge.
We'll get back to it. Don't worry. Trust me.
So he gives his eggs and then he leaves. Val takes the eggs and she throws them in the bin. That's symbolism.
Yes.
I noticed at this point there was a good bit of music. That's all you're getting from that. This bit had a nice bit of music. It just reminded me Murray Gold is working his magic again.
So now we get a real shift in because Maria kisses Max goodbye, is done with the wake, and so she just goes home. It's a montage to music of her just crying, and Gethin is not there. And then when he does show up, it's because he was out drinking with his work people again, because getting Max's accounts is like a promotion, basically. It has the same significance. He had to buy everyone a drink, basically. And so he's drunk as hell, and it's quite sad, actually.
I'm calling bullshit. I just think he's a functioning alcoholic.
Well, you know what they say: if you're functioning, what's the issue?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That is of course disclaimer. Yeah, you do the disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. The Davis on Davis podcast appreciates that alcoholism is a very serious issue. And we do not make light of the fact.
It's never too early to get help, basically.
But in this case, Maria is crying. And I kind of think she's realised, I think she's stuck in this cycle of just getting back together and that with Gethin. And now she's sort of trapped herself in. And that's only further cemented when Gethin does come in and says, I got a phone call today and look what arrived. And it's her engagement ring. And she puts on her finger. And he then goes off to go have a shower or something.
Yeah.
And Maria shouts to him, he's out of the room now, and says, oh, well, congratulations on you and me. And he just calls back, yeah. And I just think, wow, that's...
He gives her the box. He doesn't even, like, open the box for her. So, like, she opens it and finds the engagement ring. He's not even there to see her open it and find the engagement ring. It's insane.
Yeah, I really feel for Maria at this point.
Now, it's the following morning, and Max is here, rocking up to...
The town hall.
The town hall, yes. So he rocks up to the town hall. Iris is there, and he still wants her on the team. He still wants her to be a part of this, because he wants her to do all the boring stuff so that he can focus on the bigger picture.
And it's worth pointing out, in the previous... It was the previous episode where the big ending was everyone that worked for the council in the town hall got evacuated, and Iris said, oh, we're all leaving. And then now, it turns out that was just a big stunt.
Well, yeah, exactly, because Max said, you all work for me, and then she hit the fire alarm. And so people were leaving because there was a fire.
And actually, they all want to keep their jobs, because financial stability is important in this capitalist world.
Yes.
So they're all still there. We get this juxtaposition of Iris talking about... So when we talk about the small stuff, we're talking parking, reference to the guy at the beginning of the episode. The schools. It's not mentioned, but the bins, reference from the other episode when we first met Iris. And then Max gives us a taste of what he means by the bigger picture, by which he means the Swansea Eye, a la the London Eye. And he's got this fantastic idea of, if you build part of it underground, the pods can sort of, when they get
underwater.
To the bottom, underwater even.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. And then it'll be like going to SeaWorld.
I think because in the harbour, there's enough of like a sheer drop.
I'm not sure that's particularly feasible, but I think that's the point.
I think it's so funny that he hypes up the big picture, and it turns out his idea of a big picture is just a Millennium vanity project. It's like the Millennium's already happened, you know. You can't just build another wheel. It's yeah.
It's true. And he's been talking, I think he mentions at some point about having international plans for Swansea. And this, so far, it doesn't feel very international. It does feel very incompetent. And Iris brings up the point, how do you pay for this? This is not a man who understands how local government budgets work. And he just turns to her and says, you know what your job is, Iris? Your job is to stop the obstacles. And this sounds like an obstacle.
Yeah.
It sort of makes me laugh. It's kind of, in the world of the arts, TV, theatre, it's a writer talking to a producer saying, I'm going to come up with these ideas, and it's your job to make it work with the money.
But it's funny because, like, if you want some kind of a yes man, or like someone who can sort of threaten people into making things happen, you really have to like hire someone who's ready to do that. You know, Iris, that's not Iris's style, and that you can't make that her style just with a pep talk.
No, he also then, he's talking to Danny, and he's sort of, we get hints of his other plans. So he says, or does he say it to Iris? He says, get Longleat on the phone, i.e. the famous zoo, and find out how much lions cost. And then he asks Danny, what did they do with the old Concordes?
And he just says, I think they burnt them.
Which it's just Danny going, let's just not open this box. Let's put a lid on this.
I thought it was so funny. And also because this was 1 year after 2003 when they were withdrawn. So like, I get it, because, you know, you think, what do you mean we don't have supersonic planes anymore? What do you mean we got rid of them? Why would we get rid of them? That's like the next step. And obviously when you consider also how comfortable the plane journey is, and how the food options and all that stuff, it turned out to not be a feasible model. But yeah, Concorde, that thing which we used to have.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
We don't have anything now.
No, we don't.
That was like our one thing. We did a collab with France we dropped some new merch and now there's no merch.
All I'm going to say is high speed transport even, that is not really our thing.
No.
You can't mention the letters H, S and 2 in that order to me without crying.
No, it's wild that basically our plan with high speed rail was, do you want to get out of this country really quickly? Well, oh boy, have I got some news for you. Now you can, with the all-new tunnel to anywhere else. You want to go to France? Tunnel. You want to go to Belgium? Tunnel. You want to go to Germany? You got to change trains, but tunnel. You want to go to Manchester? Lol. Lamau.
You want to leave Manchester? No, you can't.
You want to go to Birmingham? We can get you to the outskirts.
Max clearly wants Swansea Air Force One, but he ain't getting it.
So Iris is good at scheming, it turns out. And so what she does is she engineers a meet cute with with Max.
Oh god, that was a Freudian slip there, Louis.
She gets into a lift with Max and then texts someone in like the tech room just for words now. And so he shuts off the power, trapping her in the lift with Max. While this is happening, Danny and Maria have also gone into a lift, and so they're also trapped.
So we get these sort of two parallel scenarios playing out where Iris and Max, we think there's tension there. That's just, they don't like each other. Maria and Danny, we've got tension that we know there's a bit of romantic tension between the two. And Maria's there. She does the, oh my God, it's hot in here 3 times to see if Danny noticed the engagement ring. He doesn't, so she has to say, here's my engagement ring. And I've written down a bit of I think this is really clever dialogue, the way that it sort of flows and has its purpose, where Danny's reaction to the engagement ring is not well done, congratulations, it's so you're going ahead with it. And he explains to Maria that he does think Gethin is a twat. And Maria starts saying, well, what would you know? I can't even imagine you dating anyone. He reveals that he had a 6-year relationship with a pharmacist who left him because she was bored. And then Maria's like, I can't imagine that. I can't even imagine you asking someone out. And he says, I could ask someone out, And she says, how would you do it? And he just goes, I'd say to you, let's have dinner tonight. Obviously, she's like, well, you can't. It's too late. I'm engaged. At that exact moment, we have Max and Iris also agree to have dinner tonight. So we get a bit of a jump because they have this heart-to-heart where Iris is saying, this small stuff is what keeps this town going. And Max just wants to make Swansea better. And she's like, oh, this town will never love you back, and no matter how hard you try. And then they could have... Now, am I missing something? All of a sudden, they jump to having dinner tonight. This threw me off guard. Why do these two people that don't like each other end up having dinner together? Why does it get to that point in the conversation?
Well, I don't know, because I was like, it could just be a heart-to-heart dinner. It doesn't have to be like an affair, romantic dinner.
No.
But by the time he gets to her door later on, that is very much the implication, which is kind of interesting.
Yes. No, the point I'm making is, in that conversation, why does she propose to have him round at her house? Why does he accept? Like, these are two people that do not like each other, supposedly.
Yes.
It's an interesting puzzle, but we'll see how it plays out, I suppose. Having achieved this seems to have been Iris's goal. She then texts the guy who's in charge of the lifts to sort of return power to them.
Yes. Now these 4 characters emerge from their lifts, forever changed. But meanwhile, we get a great scene where Val and Leo are out kind of looking for houses, because they're like, well, if we own the houses and we just have to pick one we like.
The official residence.
Yes. And she's saying we could all have our own houses and I could have one I just go to on Wednesdays. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, I gotta say.
She's just modelling herself after this. She does say she's modelling herself after the royal family.
Yeah. And then she says, and you could have a place, Leo, and it could be just you, or it could be with someone or whoever or whatever you want to do, we all really support you, because I think sort of everyone knows, but only Candy is homophobic. Everyone else just wants him to not be miserable.
And he actually responds quite well to this, because I was expecting him to be like, oh no, I'm not, da, 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 da. And he just sort of smiles and accepts the parental love. It's very sweet, I think.
But I'm wondering, does he know that everyone is like thinking gay, and he's just like, why is everyone being weird? Or does he even know that it's because they all think he's gay. Like,
I do not know.
but this conversation is cut short a bit because Val spots Lilith, Sam the Eggman's new lady friend. I guess she's a cleaner because she's wearing that like vest.
Yeah. She's wearing that like traditional. I once did a play where one of the characters was a cleaner, and we went onto Amazon and looked up like cleaning apron, and it was the exact pattern this Lilith character is wearing. So that's like that typical 20th century, late 20th century cleaning pattern that I don't think most people wear anymore who work in these jobs. But yeah, she's definitely like getting there. Like, I think they're probably getting stuff out of the van to go into a property to clean it.
Yeah.
And Val says to Leo, "You go wait in the taxi. Here's the key. I just need to go and look at something again." And she goes up to Lilith and says, "Oh, hello."
Yes.
And Lilith turns around and says, "Oh no, I'm not Lilith. I'm actually called Zoe. My parents named me after the Doctor Who assistant." At which point I groaned because Russell, write a TV show that doesn't make reference to it, please.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like a single line. It's she could have just said, "I'm Zoe." Like, if they had to cut out 10 seconds for timing, that would be gone, you know.
Yeah. It's funny. Zoe was a second Doctor companion in the 60s.
But what's funny is she says, "Oh, I wouldn't go out with him. He's an Eggman."
Yeah, it turns out that Zoe was hired by the Eggman to do an acting gig to pretend to be his lady friend for, it was, I think, 10 quid.
10 quid, yeah. You know, no one respected trades at that point. I think people respect them more now because of discourse around whether you should go to university. But back then, Eggman, ugh.
I meant to talk about it in our previous episode where we were kind of talking about the slightly problematic elements of this TV show that haven't aged particularly well. And I do think the portrayal of the Eggman and sort of like the actor's a little bit shorter, he's got a little bit less hair. They kind of paint this picture around him of him almost being a gross, unattractive little man. And it's things like this that reinforce these ideas. And after we've seen him get egged in the previous episode, I also think this association with eggs as something messy, something yucky.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I do think moments like this from this Zoe character saying, "Ooh, he's an Eggman." I
did read a review that basically was saying, why is there like an Eggman portraying Swansea as this somewhat regressive place where they have the Eggman. Which is interesting because also then in the episode they say, "Oh, we don't need the Eggman anymore. We can go to a supermarket." And I'm sort of thinking, surely supermarket eggs are less expensive because you're going there to buy them and you're not having someone deliver them to your house, which is part of the labour cost. But in a supermarket, you know, because it's an economies of scale operation, you know, they have tons of eggs that they just get delivered in on the highways in big lorries, and that brings down cost per egg. But I don't know.
I suppose there's an idea of like you supporting local industry, but then the idea is just supporting the Eggman and we don't like the... Who knows?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And like, for example, I have a milkman, so...
Or this nostalgia for a simpler time.
I wish my milkman would deliver my milk in the morning. I want a milkman to deliver my milk when I'm yawning. That's the start of a very rude song, so I won't say any more.
I was going to say, I wonder if this comes up in future episodes, in the final two episodes. But surely now, if Max owns Swansea, he can just be like, "No more Eggman. No more. It's illegal to deliver eggs on my property."
No, yes, I was wondering if he was gonna go like dictator on Sam. I was wondering if that would be a plot point. But he doesn't this episode, and good on him.
I was just thinking, what if he declares eggs full stop to be illegal? You can't eat eggs anymore. And that generates a black market where people are having omelettes in alleyways.
And cakes even.
So yeah, it turns out that the Eggman doesn't have a new lady friend. Lilith is but a fiction played by Zoe.
So now, it is dinner time, it's the evening, and Max is going out to see Iris, and Val is going out to... see Sam, and they're both like suspicious of each other. That only gets worse over time, but before that, Gethin, who now has Max's accounts, finds on his computer a thing saying £30,000 and also an address, and so he ends up going to the warehouse and being like, is Mr. Vivaldi here? And then the guy's like, "Oh, Leo," and he's like, "Yeah, Leo." And so through that, he's able to work out that this is an operation entirely run by Leo.
Should we stay with the Leo operation for a bit?
Yeah. So the next time we come back to the operation, the police are raiding it. Leo's like, what's going on here? This is all legal. And then they're like, you're not Max. You're 15. It's like anyone can start a company in any name or whatever. Which I guess, I don't know what the criminal thing with that would be, but I would imagine it just means that it's Max's money, which it already like on the books was. So he's saying that like, there's nothing to see here. And because they got a tip off about drugs, that was very clearly Gethin. And then, but they don't find drugs. What they do find is an endangered tortoise. And he's like, it's a tortoise. And then he's like, what's the problem with that? Oh yeah. And then the guy's like, you've got a license. Like, do I need a license for a tortoise? Literally doing you got a license for that tortoise, mate. But it turns out basically, since it is an endangered tortoise, you do need a license. Otherwise, it's smuggling.
Wow. I've done a bit quick. I'm not sure that this entirely checks out in terms of the logic. I don't think it's because tortoises are endangered, or at least not now. I think it's illegal to import, buy, or sell most tortoises without a license in the UK. Not necessarily because they're endangered.
Once again, Russell is playing fast and loose with the law.
It's more just that they shouldn't really live in the UK.
Yeah,
this isn't really the appropriate environment. Just like it's illegal to import raccoons. Like, raccoons shouldn't be in the UK.
But the thing about this whole interaction is that basically the police are annoyed they have less to do now that Max has taken over, and so by the principles of ACAB, this police officer knows that the first person to nick a Vivaldi will get a lot of credit because, they're not here to enforce order, they're here to inflict violence. And so this guy is inflicting his violence upon Leo because this is Vivaldi he's been able to grab a hold of. And and we'll come back to that because before that we need to cover Candy's storyline.
Candy. Well,
saving the best to last. We don't care about anything else. We only care about Candy. This is definitely the best storyline. This is definitely needs to be in the show. This is definitely not superfluous to everything else.
Louis, it's not Candy's storyline. It's Candy Zeta's storyline, actually.
Sorry. No, I should do better because changing your name to something odd is actually like quite Welsh coded, just from personal experience. I know a family member who changed their name for a while and was very insistent they use their new name. This was not someone like actually transitioning their identity in some way. This was completely just a stunt. And Candy is like, it's Candy Zeta, which is funny because Catherine Zeta, she has a double barrel surname, Zeta Jones. But Candy is like, no, but Candy Zeta is my new first name, which I think is a funny little touch.
It's also, when you think about it, Zeta's such a weird name. Obviously, because of Catherine Zeta-Jones, it almost sounds normal in my head. But it is just a random letter of the Greek alphabet. And I can't think of any other meaning of Zeta other than that. And the sort of the juxtaposition of, Zeta and Jones and Catherine Zeta-Jones and then Candy Zeta Vivaldi, it works.
Yeah.
But it is an odd juxtaposition. Anyway, Candy Zeta Vivaldi, she's on the up. And so she's working hard. So her new manager, Mrs. Digby, is sort of working her to the bone, learning her new choreo. She's sort of chastising Candy for stomping too much. And it's step turn 3-4. And Candy sat in the dance studio being like, actually, I think Mrs. Digby, you've put too many moves in. I don't think Candy can actually do the turn. And they just keep arguing. And so during one of Candy's breaks from learning her new choreo, Claire gives her a sandwich and Candy's like, I'm not allowed that. And we get a real sense that Claire, even more than before, is not believing in Mrs. Digby's vision for Candy Zeta.
No.
And so she says to Candy quite plainly, why do you want to be a pop star? Candy gives, I think, the only correct answer, and it is so that you can snog a lot of boys.
No, Claire gives that answer. Candy says, I don't know. It just feels like, she just feels like it's something to aspire to. And Claire is like, you've got to reap the goods.
Yeah.
You're doing it to snog boys. Yeah. This is good because it means that Claire actually cares about Candy's happiness and there being a point to all this.
And so Clara said, well, in order to achieve this, I'm going to book you
Pub.
I'm going to book you a pub gig.
Yeah, that was a Freudian slip on Zach's part because he really wants to go clubbing right now.
It's 3:00 in the afternoon, and I can just hear that drum and bass calling me.
Yeah.
Candy has booked. Claire said she could book Candy a pub gig, 20 quid cash in hand, loads of boys for the both of them to snog. And of course, Mrs. Digby apparently doesn't. Candy's saying that Mrs. Digby doesn't think this is classy, and Claire's like, "Yeah, but you've got to think about why you're doing this, and you're doing this to snog boys. So come on,
yes,
let's do it."
Yeah, and then she sort of gets called back by Mrs. Digby, and because this whole time, like, Miss Digby has been like trying to like drill into her what the choreography is for kind of the step, turn, 3/4 kind of thing, and there's this shot of Candy practicing the routine, and like. She looks like really kind of sad, but she's doing these dance moves so like crisply and perfectly and to the tune. And when I saw that, I just thought this needs to be on like Stan Twitter. This needs to be in like a fan made music video to Joyride by Kesha. It's such a good little moment, and I'm like, let's get this. Candy Zeta Vivaldi, I should say, is at the School of Hard Cunt studying cuntology.
With a minor in motherhood. I think that's mother, and I don't know how it is.
Critical mother theory, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, Louis, you'll be glad to know it is finally the evening, and so now we can find out what happens with this dinner. Max leaves the house all dressed up and takes a bottle of wine, despite Iris saying she has bottles of wine. And Val gets she's a bit like, why would you take a bottle of wine to a council meeting? And so after he leaves, she runs out telling the kids, I'm going off to my mum's. And I thought, is she going to chase after Max? But she does actually go to her mum's house.
Yes, yeah.
And from her mum's house, she goes with her mum and her mum's friend to the Eggman's house. And it turns out, everyone, the Eggman, very cleverly, in inverted commas, used the word Lilith as a code.
Yes.
For Val to pick up on.
A bit, as he says, a bit of Old Hebrew. And the reason I mentioned Has Been Hotel and then Vittora, because you didn't know what I was talking about, is because basically, so in Has Been Hotel, the main character, her mum is Lilith, who was like the original wife of Adam.
Yeah.
Before Eve. And the thing is, it's one of those things where, because it comes from like Babylonian mythology mixed into like what became the Torah and any Old Testament, I don't know how like canon it is. I think the idea is basically that you get from something like Has Been Hotel is, Eve was made from Adam's rib, but Lilith was her own person.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting.
I didn't know what Val was going to make of this, because he's basically saying, yeah, we can keep going forever. I've put up this front for people to believe I've moved on, but actually, I'm perfectly happy for you to keep coming round every week like you used to. And this is when Val brings in her mum and her mum's friend, and they basically say, now listen up, okay? My daughter, she doesn't like you. You know what? If you carry on with this, all I'm going to say is, I know a lot of people who buy your eggs, and a lot of these people who buy your eggs, they're going to start hearing about salmonella. That's all I'm going to say. And she basically threatens to ruin her.
They're such like a good sort of commanding presence. And then as they're leaving, sort of because Val in this moment was also very sort of assertive and really kind of like put her foot down and said, no, Sam, I don't want you. They're quite proud of her, and they say like, wow, she's rising to her like purpose. And then they're sort of talking about this purpose, this destiny, and they're like, why is there a prophecy around her? I started off the Bene Gesserit thing as a little joke, but it's like, why are they actually like doing Bene Gesserit shit? Like, why are they actually talking like they've been like running the show for generations?
Well, one could argue they just used the voice on the Eggman.
Yes. yes, yeah. And once again, it's this thing of like, Val's mum doesn't want to tell her what the plan is, but her friend is like, she needs to know. And I totally get it, because as someone who has a lot of prophecies spoken to them myself. I know that if I tell people about the prophecies, they don't come true. So I can either use that information to warn someone of something, or I have to keep to myself, even if I would like to sort of share with someone. The curse is that I'm not allowed to, and that causes a lot of inner turmoil because I know that they need to reach their destiny on their own, and I can't disclose that fact, but I know that. And so I totally get it, what Val's mum is thinking with this, you know. I totally get her thought process. Like, she knows that only Val can fulfill the prophecy by herself. Unless they're all self-fulfilling prophecies, in which case I've been completely fucking it up.
Meanwhile, Max's evening, he's arrived at Iris's house, and she's made pasta, and it all gets very weird very quickly. As she said, she's got a good fist for making pasta. And I don't like the word fist in any context. And then they basically start flirting about the food and the wine tasting spicy and someone's mouth being hot and full of spice.
I gotta say, fists are really weird because, like, when you unclench it, where does it go? My hand is open. Do I have a fist? Do I suddenly gain a fist when I do that? It's like the lap.
Oh
what happens to the lap when you stand up?
Oh no. Of course. One of the great philosophers of our time right here. No, they start flirting over spice, and it gets very weird very quickly.
Because then they're talking about wine, and so they're saying, well, this is a very spicy wine. And it's like, wine is not known for being spicy.
It does make me laugh now, and I don't imagine in 2004 the word spicy had sexual connotations in quite the same. Now we talk about, you know, someone sends you spicy pics. It means they send you nudes, right?
I feel like spicy must be kind of old. Like, it's
spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy, you know? Spicy content. Well, content. I guess people didn't really say content back then the way they do now, so...
Zesty.
Maybe you're right.
Because it's certainly nowadays, I'm Googling it, and it's suggesting that the slang meaning of spicy is suggestive of sexual impropriety. Although, according to Oxford Languages, spicy jokes meaning exciting or entertaining, especially through being mildly indecent. So I think maybe we've just strengthened that sense of indecency.
But this sort of hard-to-watch flirting does break down eventually, and Max starts talking about how he feels about his wife having cheated. Now he's all sad, and then Iris is like, you know, you should be with her. Eventually he goes, and it turns out that this whole thing was... so my first watch through, I didn't even register this, but basically Iris was doing all of this just to get some information about Max. So this wasn't to blackmail Max with the idea that he has cheated. It was actually just to find out about Max's life. And so she's able to relay the information of Val having cheated on Max with the Eggman to Stella, who it turns out is in collaboration with Iris.
It turns out that this whole... So that when I was wondering about the thought process behind this flirty dinner, Iris was in cahoots with Stella the whole time, and it was a ploy to get information out of Max.
Yeah.
But I wonder why Max was going through with the whole thing.
Also, how useful is this information really to Stella? Because, she knew there was something really big going on when they came round to her house. And so now it's just knowing that it's the Eggman. Is that enough of a revelation to make this whole dinner worthwhile, is what I wonder.
Well, the way that people have been talking about the Eggman, you know?
Yeah. Everyone's talking about the Eggman. It's funny, I forgot to mention, something Val said to him was, when I packed my bags and spent the night in your bed and it all became real, yada yada yada, you give me the creeps. I think you make a good point about how maybe his characterization is a bit excessive, you know.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that delivers eggs. He's just a bit short. A lot of my favourite people are a bit short. It's fine.
But Val mentions being creeped out by his soap and his towels in the bathroom. So maybe he...
That sounds like a you problem or a her problem. That's...
Well, maybe he buys that 9-in-all conditioner, shampoo, body wash, car oil kind of thing.
I know, but that to me, that's just Val thinking about her own life and being like, can I be here? Because, you know, you ascribe meaning to everything when you're in a state of uncertainty, a state of turmoil, you know.
Supposedly.
This crossroads in your life, you know, do you make the decision or not? Like, yeah.
Anyway, both Val and Max end up coming home at the same time, and they sort of butt heads a bit because Max is saying, where have you come from? Oh, that's not the direction from your mum's house. That's the direction from the Eggman's house. And she's like, where did you go? Why did you use a taxi service that wasn't our own taxi service? And then Danny runs up and says, it's okay, everyone. I've sorted it. I've spoken to the lawyers. It's all going to be fine. We're going to get him out. You know, it's not his fault. And they're like, what are you talking about? And Maria comes out in the house and is like, don't tell me you've said something.
You've done it again.
And then has to basically say that Leo has been arrested for smuggling tortoises. Well, no, it's Candy then shouts out the window that her gay brother has been arrested for smuggling gay tortoises.
He's a tortoise smuggler. That's not gay slang, but it should be. And very much comes from a place of spite because Candy has spent her whole life kind of overshadowed by her younger brother. And now she's a pop star and he's been arrested and she's very happy about that. And I think the thing about calling him gay is it comes back to this thing that we discussed last episode, basically when these characters, when they want to like antagonize someone, you know, it's ad hominem attacks. They go after whatever makes them marginalized.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, when you're trying to like meet people, sometimes you have to smuggle tortoises. It would be nice if there were like more opportunities and more spaces and it was sort of easier for people to meet without smuggling gay tortoises. But like, you know, that's not the fault of the community. That's the fault of the society that has not made accommodations and has tried to sort of push these people to the margins over many years. So you really have to think about it in that context, honestly.
Sure.
I love doing bits.
We get a couple of things that then happen as the characters then find out the truth about Leo. They go and visit the warehouse. Leo shows everyone and says it was actually his foreman, Thomas, who did the tortoises. And he tells a story of how he started by just selling a couple of scooters to people at school. And then it sort of spiraled into all these goods. And very interestingly, he says that he's, you know, in the boxes is software. And part of me goes, does Russell T Davies mean hardware there? And no. I went to the Science Museum a couple of weeks ago and I had completely forgotten / did not know because I'm too young that you used to have to buy physical software like in disc format in the early noughties, and then physically install that onto your computer using a disc. I mean, whoa.
Yeah, DVD-ROM.
I completely forgot about that.
Yes, he has big boxes of just floating jittering electrons just spinning about. You get like a big hose and you just sort of, and a funnel, and then you sort of just channel them into your computer, and that's how I used to do it.
At this point,
Maria calls Geffen to ask what the problem is, what the deal is.
Yeah.
So Geffen says, oh yes, so the £30,000 is currently frozen criminal assets since there's an ongoing investigation. Well, he tells her it's £30,000 and she's like, what? That is ridiculous. But then it turns out that actually he was lying. Or maybe it does need to be frozen. But in any case, he's stolen it for himself.
Yes.
He's transferred it into his own account. Which, like, is interesting because, like, we know that this is going to come back. Like, he's not going to get away with it. One, because, like, these things are pretty traceable. But also because this is a narrative. And so it's not going to just go nowhere. I think it's funny that he just, like, thinks he can get away with this.
Well, at the beginning of the episode, Max did sign and say that Geffen is now in charge of all his finances.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Yeah, didn't read the T's and C's.
I love this next bit where Maria is driving Danny away from the warehouse. And she's... Well, no, this conversation happens before that. Maria gives this little speech about how they've always struggled for money and how she's always had to bail her dad out and how she has to go on holiday to Devon and she can see Devon from her window while Leo had 30 grand in a bank account this whole time. And Danny ends up defending Maria and say, hey, you know, be fair.
Defending Leo.
He explains in the car that obviously Leo has grown up seeing his dad be really irresponsible and just lose every penny he's ever got, and says it's only understandable that he sort of hoarded this wealth and kept it secret. And I really like this little bit of psychology going on there, both Maria's psychology and also Leo's psychology. But then Maria just snaps and says to Danny, "You know what? You don't know shit. You don't know anything. You don't know what's going on between my parents."
But also another reason Maria is angry is because she like let him sneak off all these times because she thought he was meeting a guy, and it turns out he just had a lot of money.
Exactly. It turns out that Danny does know about the affair with the Eggman. I think Maria's going to snap. She gets out the car and she's just like, "Why do you just know everything?"
Yes, I should say that they had the argument in the car leaving the warehouse. But yeah, and because the argument is like, "Oh, it seems like you know everything," he's like, "Yes, and I even know about that." When he said that, I really did like feel that in my chest. Like, it was such like a visceral moment of oh, you have really annoyed her now. She is furious. Great line. She says, "You're like something out of Buffy."
Yes.
I guess he would be the series 7 villain taking the form of dead people. Yes, because that was able to sort of infiltrate lives and know everything. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen the first 2 episodes of Buffy and no more, so I have no idea.
Okay, fine. That's for the listeners then.
But no, I expect Maria to just snap, and instead it cuts them at the beach, and they end up having this conversation. Danny asks Maria if she's ever been unfaithful, and she says no, but then she says, "But you're going back to London, so this doesn't count." And then they kiss. Dun, 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 that sexual tension has finally been broken.
Yeah.
But even though she's engaged, it's messy stuff.
But she says it doesn't count because he's leaving.
It makes me think of that song from High School Musical 2 that went viral on TikTok. And I'll leave that there.
I don't know.
I'll leave that there.
Is it the one that everyone is like, "This is proof these 2 characters are gay"? Is it that one?
No. It's "I'm leaving today because I gotta do what's best for me." Sorry, I won't sing anymore.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Anyway, they kiss. Now it's the same night, and we see Max wake up and wake Leo up, and he takes him out of the house and says, "Look over there. Do you see that transmitter across the way?"
Yeah.
Now that transmitter, that's beaming out to all these TVs in every home, but it's on my land.
Yeah.
So he says, "Go onto the internet and find you. I want you to find people who can help me with this transmitter."
Max is like quite sinister in this scene when he like wakes Leo up. He's like, Leo, wake up. And then he's like, "So, you think you're smarter than me?" And he's like, "No." And it's like, "You think you could beat me?" And it's like, I was trying to. It's like, is he gonna like do some old school punishment to Leo or something? Is he? Well, no. I was wondering if Max was like felt sort of humiliated enough to do something quite sinister, but actually no. He just wants to use the equipment, which fair enough. Yeah.
We cut to the next day.
They've been up all night doing this. They pulled another all nighter. Yeah.
We see Maria at Gethin's house, and they're having a conversation, and you can just hear Max saying testing in the background, and they go through to the living room. We're on the telly. Max is being broadcast on every single channel, and he's saying, "Good morning, Swansea." And Leo ends up naming it Vivaldi Vision.
Yes.
And he says he's been inspired by his son. They'll put all channels back in good time, and channel 6 will be Vivaldi Vision, but for now he's on every single channel.
I do love that little touch because do you know channel 6? Do you know what channel 6 used to be?
No, I don't know what channel 6 used to be.
It used to be nothing. It would go from channel 5 to 7, which was BBC 3. So
well, there is nothing. There is no channel after now to go. Does this go channel 5, BBC 3, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I'm saying that it did then, and
yeah, still does. Yeah.
Hi. So this is complete nonsense. Channel 6 is ITV2. The thing I was thinking of was channel 8, which is missing unless you're in Wales. Also, whilst BBC 3 is back, it's no longer on Channel 7. That is now local TV. Channel 8 wouldn't be anything unless you're in Wales, in which case it would be Channel 4, because 4 in Wales was S4C, which you do see pop up on the screen when Marie was flicking through the channels.
Yes.
Just to remind you where we are.
And he says that he's decided he's had a change of tune. He's not really thinking about the big picture. He's thinking about how, well, he's going to install cameras in his house and he's going to basically broadcast to the Vivaldi house, a bit like Big Brother, so that they can all be held accountable, so they can all be above suspicion.
Yeah.
He tells the public his address and he says, you should come to me and I will represent you and I will make your lives a better place.
Yes.
And then Danny arrives, and this is the big finale moment.
Another thing I just have to say is when he is showing off the equipment that he's got from the warehouse, he does say, hey, these are two like tech people that we've got in. So they both look like sort of large guys, large grown-up men. He says they told Leo they were 15. I hope to God he wasn't being groomed. Leo, who's holding a camera, just shouts, "Shut up!" Wild scenes. They let that through. Yeah.
The finale.
Any thoughts on that?
No. I'm no. I think
you're not
nothing else
that.
needs saying. No, not with a barge pole.
No.
I don't want to be touched by them, and I'm not going to touch them.
Okay. Now I don't want to say anything more on it either. Danny shows up.
He does, and he gets offered a job live on air to be Max's second in command. And he says, yeah, I'll stay. And we just see Maria sort of, it's quite hard to interpret. I think she goes from smiling to also being like, oh shit. She's like, yeah, I'm happy to have this guy stay around, but oh no. That means if he's not going to London tomorrow,
yeah,
it means I cheated.
I think he's mortified,
Who's mortified?
Sorry, I think she is mortified. I mean, Maria is mortified.
Yeah.
Because she has to confront the fact that she would much rather be with Danny. But, like, I think I really do want her to break up with Gethin. Because, like, the way he's done everything, like proposing and by engaging and presenting it, like, she can just annul that. Like, this is not someone who is thinking about you. Why are you giving him a thought,
Yeah.
I did think that sort of her characterization in this episode was kind of closer to in episode 1. Because I mentioned episode 3, it felt like she was sort of tricked by Gethin, who it's like, how is this guy tricking you? But this time, it's, if you kind of ignore how we got to where we are in episode 3, the idea that she is just in, like, an unhappy situation and she sort of doesn't want to put the stability in jeopardy. That's a fair motivation, and I think, I hope that Maria graduates from mother school.
But that brings us to the end of episode 4 of Mine or Mine. Any general thoughts?
Yeah, I think the stuff with Leo sort of made me think about like my own sexuality and just sort of not having been any kind of flamboyant kid, being asexual spectrum, sort of my most, I guess my phenotype is like autism. Like, that's my main aura. I would imagine this is close to sort of Russell's experience, but I mean, also, like, we're both firstborns, so like it's not like either of us would have had like older siblings to like spot it.
No, exactly.
and see how obvious it was or whatever. So also can't really relate to that. But I don't know. I hope Leo he meets someone by the end of the show, because I want to see that. At this point, that would be a real bit of catharsis to sort of see that actually like come to fruition. Yeah. Any thoughts for you?
I've enjoyed discussing this episode with you. I do think I'm not sure it's the best episode that we've seen of the show so far. I almost feel like, I don't want to say I feel like things have been ever so slightly predictable in terms of setting Gethin up to be the villain, the bad guy, and Maria cheating. I'm almost like, it's not really gone in potentially the most interesting ways that it could have gone in, if you get what I mean. It's almost Danny staying is not a predictor, is actually quite a predictable twist ending. I think we all knew it was going to happen. So I think it wasn't the boldest episode. I really like when Russell T Davies is writing is bold and sort of pushes frontiers.
Yeah.
I really liked how when we watched Curious Folk, I didn't know what was coming next.
Yeah.
There was some small, but like you, I think there were some small touches in this episode that I did agree, but I'm hoping that the final 2 episodes really push the sort of, we explore Max's sovereignship.
Yeah, I put in my notes Chairman Max. It's taken us 4 episodes to get to Chairman Max, and actually, like, how does he want to be the supreme ruler of Swansea? And we finally have his sort of his governing style. I think, with the Danny point, I think that, like, now I'm thinking, what if Danny sort of said no, and Maria is like thinking I should be relieved, but actually there's like a sadness to that.
Yeah, and she's got to chase.
And then next episode, something makes him stay, but for now it's the cliffhanger that he's leaving and not the cliffhanger that he's staying.
Yeah.
I think this one really charmed me. I think I did enjoy it a lot when sort of watching it, but I don't know how much I was able to sort of verbalize it, because I think it was just that there were enough like nice scenes and I guess mystery box stuff with sort of. I thought the mystery box stuff was done better here than previously. So like I'm sort of more interested in what's going on with Val's mum than I was like last time, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will say it charmed, and I will say I thought it was neat.
Nice. Well, we like to hear that.
Nice.
Well, I think that's it for today's episode.
Yeah, that is. So next time we will be discussing episode 5 of this show, but this is where it gets complicated, because the episode 5 we discuss next time is not the one that made it to TV. We'll be discussing an episode where most of it was cut out and then some of it was stuck on the front of episode 6, which became the actual series finale during syndication. So maybe it'll be a pile of crap, right? Because like if this was the one where they're like, yeah, we can scrap this for timing, you know. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like in Doctor Who Flux, where the even episodes are better than the odd episodes, you know. Who knows? But one last thing actually that I do need to say is basically, okay, so Zoe is named after a Doctor Who character. However, very soon we're going to meet a character named Yanto Jones, who appears, or at least a character also called Yanto Jones, played by the same actor, appears in Torchwood. And hey, maybe they're not actually the same character. Maybe they're just 2 different characters from 2 different universes that happen to have the same name and actor. However, in Torchwood Miracle Day, there is a point where one character says, when someone is searching for like files and family trees and stuff, and says, you know, think of the Vivaldi case. They kept searching and eventually they found it, you know, something along those lines. The Vivaldi inheritance is explicitly referenced in Torchwood Miracle Day, making the TV show Mine All Mine a part of the Doctor Who universe, the Doctor Who canon, but also the show Doctor Who exists within the TV show Mine All Mine. But this is also absolutely not the first time that Doctor Who has existed within the Doctor Who universe.
That's true.
It's just another bit of evidence to support that.
Except that
my theory is that classic Who exists in the Who universe, but new Who doesn't. So in the Doctor Who universe, Doctor Who was cancelled and never came back. But in our universe, it did come back. But also, is Miracle Day canon to Doctor Who? Because how does that fit into the timeline if there was a long period when everyone was just immortal and then they weren't, you know?
Yeah.
So you can say something.
That's what I said. Yeah, there you go.
Were you going to say I don't think it's canon?
Yeah, I don't believe Miracle Day to be canon to Doctor Who universe, but there we go.
There we go.
Or even the Torchwood universe.
Yeah. So join us in our next episode of Davis on Davis reviews Torchwood brackets non-canon to Doctor Who. You can follow us on Instagram at Davis on Davis. You can follow me on Instagram at Louis on Air, Twitter Louis on the Air. Zach, do you have anything to plug?
Yes, I am helping my Aunt Vivian. She is branching out and she's opening a discount supermarket branch near me. And so you can follow her journey on opening this budget supermarket on all social platforms at Viv_Aldi.
Good stuff.
All right.
Goodbye.
We'll see you next episode, everybody. Bye.